Hello and welcome back to Dukascopy TV on the last day of the trading week. Now joining me in the studio today is Arnaud Dotezac, who is the editor of the financial publication Market Magazine and also a law professor at Geneva University. Arnaud, welcome to the studio. You've come in today to talk about Ukraine and Russia and the ongoing crisis as well, generally, with this country. Many reports in the media suggest that Russia has now annexed parts of Ukraine, in this case Crimea. Do you believe this to be the case?
Well, it depends where do you start the analysis. If you start the analysis in the idea, you know, in the context that Ukraine and Crimea were a state, a unique state since 300 years, and a part of it has been separated, yes, this is an annexation, no doubt, from a legal point of view. And this is where all the lawyers, the politicians are standing. If you go a little bit deeper, you understand that this was not the case. First, because Ukraine itself was not an independent state it was not an independent state until 91. What does it mean? It means that when Ukraine became independent in 1991, Crimea was in a situation which was totally unusual from international law point of view, because it was not part of the state of Ukraine. It was a district which was merged with another district. Okay, so to make Crimea independent from Russia at that time was an annexation, you know, by Ukraine. Okay, and it was so true that even before Ukraine declared its own independence in August 91, Crimea declared its own independence in January 91, before Ukraine. And there was a big struggle from 91 to 97 in order to settle the case of Crimea. So it is not this very plain issue that everybody talks about. It is something which was technically annexation by Ukraine, and I will call it a disannexation by Russia.
Okay, let's just look at this idea of Russian aggression, though. Russia is accused of aggressive tactics and actions against Ukraine. Can you briefly explain some of the legal issues here?
Well, you know, in the law of armed conflict, you have two aspects. The first one is how do you make the war, you know, and this is the most well-known aspect. It is humanitarian laws. You should not kill civilians, you should not do barbarian things, and so on. And there is another aspect of law of armed conflicts, which is the way you enter into a conflict. Okay, so these are the two aspects, and the notion of aggression belongs to the second aspect. So aggression means that a part of a territory is annexed, or a part of a territory becomes under control or occupied, and so on. And let's say behind this there is the idea of disturbance of the state of peace. That is the point. You have to understand that this very idea is not yet a crime, contrary to the crime like genocide, the crime against humanity, which belongs to the first aspect, humanitarian laws. This is not yet a crime. You have, you know, the International Penal Court, you know, the Statute of Rome, and the crime of aggression is still in discussion. This crime of aggression cannot yet be prosecuted as such. And when it will be prosecuted at the same level as the genocide or things like this, it will not be before 2017, and it will not be before 30 countries ratify this Statute of Rome, and we are still with 10 of one. So there is no crime of aggression yet under international law.
Can I just ask a little sub-question
Sure.
before we go on to the next one? Is that, doesn't that mean then, if what you're saying that there's no crime and that it could the process could take a long time, wouldn't that then necessarily encourage say in this case Vladimir Putin's actions, wouldn't that encourage other states or other countries to do the same, to walk into areas that they want and to take?
Absolutely.
Because they know it's going to take a long time before anyone does anything about it, and as you said, it's not officially a crime yet.
Yeah, what I want to make here, to point out, is that it is a good thing that in the next future it will become a crime. But for the time being, it is not a crime, it is a fact. There is not yet, and I think it's not so bad, there is not yet a supra-state which will control all the other states. We are still in a model of states which are sovereign states. So what is called a military aggression is a fact. And so the legal interpretation of it can be totally open to the interpretation of the sovereign states themselves.
And some people might argue that as being bureaucracy.
Actually speaking, this is just the legal frame. And it is a good thing that we go to a better definition of this fact into a crime. But it is not yet the case, and it will not be the case before a long time. Now, what about the facts? What about the gentle green army men, as they are called? Two things. The first is that in Crimea, and this is well known, it's not something very new, in Crimea, the Russian Federation is allowed to have up to 25,000 troops. So when you have Russian troops in Crimea, it is not an aggression, okay? It is a usual state of being there according to the treaties between Russia and Ukraine. So this is number one. Aggression is what? Aggression is the sizing, of the territory, occupying the territory. That was not the case. All of a sudden, some army men appeared, okay? And for some media reasons, for some psychological reason, for some influence reason, whatever you call them, they appeared with no badges, with no identification. But it is not that all of a sudden the army took over the country. The army was already there. So how can we balance? Who can say that those military people are invading or aggressing this land? What is the proportion of imported new soldiers and resident soldiers there? Nobody knows, and it's very interesting that nobody say, and nobody claims what is this proportion and what is the number. Nobody.
But you would say that it's not an act of aggression at all.
Well,
so the idea of troops coming in and pressuring Ukrainian army bases.
I think this is big manipulation because the Russian army is already there.
Okay, Arnaud, we have to come on to the final question.
Yes.
If we could keep it reasonably brief. Is the current Ukrainian government a legitimate one with regards to international
So
law?
this is also something which is very rarely treated in the media. Actually speaking, the argument which is heard very often is that this, and which is a truth, this government has been put in place out of a coup. Why? Because there was a convention which was signed 21st of February in which Yanukovych should stay president until the next elections. And everybody signed it, and this was under the guarantee of 3 foreign ministers, England, Germany, and France. And the day after, Yanukovych has been removed and a new government has been installed. So people say it was not under any constitutional frame, it was not in accordance with this convention of the previous day. So it is illegal. So this government is illegitimate. This is regarding the internal law. This is true from the internal point of view. But the international law, as I told you, does not think like this. The international law thinks about facts, effectivity. This is called the principle of effectivity. And from outside, the international community, they don't care about how the government took place. For them, the point is the continuity of the administration, the continuity of the people, the continuity, of the means of governing a country, even if it is out of a revolution or not. So, regarding the international law, the question of being legitimate or not legitimate is a non-point.
Okay, Arnaud, we'll have to leave it there. This is definitely a topic, though, that we could talk for hours. Thank you for coming into the studio today.
Thank you.
That's all we've got time for at the moment. Some interesting stuff there on Ukraine and the crisis that has been going on for some time and seems to still be going on. We'll be updating interviews as usual on our website and of course check out those updates too. But for now, bye-bye.